Right, hello. I'm Joe. This is Alex. You probably recognise our voices from the voiceovers of various videos. We're making this video because we've got a Tifo-related announcement to make, and also we thought we'd throw a Q&A in there at the end. Forgive me as I look away from the camera while I read this, but we are announcing that we are launching our new channel membership feature. We've noticed often in the comments section that people have asked about different ways in which they could support the channel, and we've spent a while thinking about how to do this, and we think that launching the channel membership feature is probably the best way for us and for you guys. So for those of you unfamiliar with how the feature works, recently YouTube allowed channel creators to operate a support/subscription model for subscribers. It offers membership access to various perks that creators decide upon. And the key with what we're doing here that we really want to get across in the video is that there won't be any paywall for our current content.
No, this is not about putting anything we already do behind a paywall. It's about encouraging support of the channel and giving some additional cool stuff in relation to that.
And the cool stuff is as follows. Members will earn a little badge that appears next to their name in the comments sections.
New members will get a shout out at the end of some videos.
There'll be some enhanced engagement with members of the Tifo team.
And the weekly podcast will be returning, which I know a lot of you have been asking for. We have wanted to do it for some time, but it's now the right time to do that, and we'll be videoing some of that. So that will be available to members with some additional extended stuff in that too.
Yeah, cool. Again, we want to emphasise that anyone who doesn't become a member won't be losing out on anything that they've already got. This is much more about supporting the channel for those people who can afford to and who want to, as opposed to putting anything behind a paywall. So if you can't afford to, if you don't want to, that's also fine. You're not going to be missing anything that you already see. But for those of you who do want to support us, who can afford to support us, there'll be a few cool little added extras in there as well, which we're quite excited about offering.
We are.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. But it felt like quite a short video, and because we're not on camera very much anyway, we thought maybe we should do a Q&A. And so many of you asked us questions in the community post. Thank you for that. We've got quite a long list of questions to get through. We couldn't get to everybody's for reasons that will become obvious. But we thought we'd give these a go. So the first one is, and this came up a few times, but the first name I saw attached to it was Oscar Tierney. Oscar Tierney asks, do you have any job opportunities at Tifo? Alex, I'll let you answer that one.
So the general point is no. We don't currently. What we do like to do is work with a wide variety of freelance writers who provide scripts for us based on the sort of things that we're already doing on the channel. In terms of the core team, no, we don't currently have any job opportunities. As and when that arises, we will make that known to the community, and obviously if people are interested they can get in touch to find out further, but nothing at the moment.
Okay, Oscar, I hope that satisfies your thirst for knowledge. The next question comes from Weeble Wobblewoe. Hello. If you were suddenly put in charge of a Premier League team, what managerial approach would you implement to compete in the modern day Premier League? I'm going to let you answer that one as well. Just to be clear at this point, we should probably say this at the beginning, Alex. I'm Joe. I do most of the voiceovers for the videos. This is Alex. Alex writes a lot of our tactics videos, so he'll be answering most of the tactics questions. You probably recognise his voice from the podcast, but as someone commented a few days ago, he doesn't look like his voice. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but how do you know that they weren't addressing that to you? Maybe you don't.
They said your name.
Okay, maybe it was me. I don't really know what my voice would portend in terms of my appearance.
Well, your voice is about to portend what managerial approach you would take at a Premier League club if you were to compete in the modern day Premier League. That's quite a hard question to answer, isn't it?
It's a really hard question to answer, and we've talked about this a little bit before. I remember when we talked about Frank de Boer at Crystal Palace, and the difference between bringing in a manager that already suits the squad balance that's there, or bringing in a manager and seeking to change the style and making additions to the squad on that basis. So I think the short answer to the question would be it would entirely depend on which Premier League team I was taking over.
Sure. Feels a bit like a cop-out though, doesn't it?
Well, it does feel a bit like a cop-out, but I think because...
Give them what they want.
Style is intrinsically related to playing squad.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a squad like Manchester City's, you can play the positional play that Pep Guardiola uses because you've got the right sort of player IDs within that. If you look at Mauricio Pochettino, he has certain types of players that he likes to have, and that augments his style. If he didn't have an Eric Dyer or a Moussa Dembele, it would be a lot harder for Pochettino to set his team up the way he does.
Okay, well maybe in a future podcast we can do that question and make it about a specific team.
I think that would be good, yes.
It's quite involved though, isn't it? But thank you, Weeble Wobble Woe. Banji Makwabi asks, what is your favourite football team? And we thought it'd be a good opportunity to get around telling you who we individually support, because that can create problems.
Drama.
With, what's the word they always use for it?
Partiality.
No, not that. The other one. Tribalism. Tribalism, which we don't like. So instead of telling you who we support, we're going to tell you what teams we like. I haven't thought about this yet, so you go first.
At the moment, I love watching Man City.
Okay.
I know it's a really obvious answer.
It's a boring
answer. But it is a slightly boring answer, but they are very, very good.
Sure.
An antithesis to that would be someone like Atletico Madrid or even Burnley, who do what they do very well. It's not as exciting, it's not as scintillating and attacking, but the way they structure is great.
Lovely. I've just thought of one.
Oh, go
It's Spal.
You like watching Spal?
Just done a voiceover on a video about Spal, and that's the first team I can think of. So I like Spal.
Okay.
They're great.
Yeah. I think Atalanta in Italy are doing some really interesting stuff. With Gasperini.
You've answered this question 3 times now, that's too many.
Okay.
The teleprompter with the next question. Do you think that FFP rules are stopping so-called small clubs to compete with large fishes? And are those big clubs using FFP's loopholes to keep on overspending year in, year out, which creates a monopoly of unjustified competition? That wasn't from the teleprompter, I do apologise. That was from Secundu Das. The teleprompter is our next question. That's quite a hard question to answer, because essentially I don't think there's a right answer to it. I mean, it's a bit of both, and depending on who you ask, you'll find very divided opinions on this. So, for example, we work with a colleague, and I'll leave his name out of it just in case he doesn't want me to reiterate his opinion inaccurately on the internet. But as far as I understand, he thinks that financial fair play is a sham, basically, and that it's instituted to maintain the status quo, the clubs that were already rich, the clubs that already had massive fan base. It makes it very difficult for a new owner to come in, like Sheikh Mansour did, or Abramovich a bit earlier on, and propel a smaller side like Man City to where they are now. And that's, when you look at the rules, that's kind of a legitimate opinion. Of course, the other side of it is that there were 10, 15 years ago an awful lot of teams following the trend of going into administration. That's not great. That creates quite a lot of hardship for supporters, and it is a real problem. It's not sort of something that UEFA invented. If UEFA did do it to keep big teams in the status quo, then they did it opportunistically rather than creating a problem that didn't exist. It definitely did, and it does go some way to alleviating that. However, we've got a video coming out on this in a couple of weeks' time, so I won't say too much, else I'll get it wrong. But it was written by James Montague, and it's about the football league situation. A lot of the stuff printed by Der Spiegel throughout November. And there are, let's put it lightly, plenty of examples of football clubs, mentioning no names, that do break the rules quite forcefully. And the more money they have, the easier it seems to be to do that. So is it fair? No. Is it fair? Yes. I don't know. But that's a good question. I'm glad to have answered it. The teleprompter is our next question. How much time does it typically take from inception to completion of a video, Alex?
So if it's a tactical video that I'm doing, it will probably take me a day to a day and a half to do all of the research. That's actually not inception, is it? So we'll discuss topics first. Usually you and I will discuss topics.
We also have a future question on how you analyse, so we'll answer that bit then, but a day and a half to do that.
So to do that bit for me, and then that script will go off to you for the voiceover and editing. Then there'll be another couple of days of illustration and putting that video together. So it's probably a good 5 or 6 days from start to finish. And
we normally live a week.
Yeah, I think so. It's worth noting that's sometimes why information in the videos can seem slightly out of date. So, for example, in the Monaco video that we released today about Thierry Henry and what's going wrong there, it said that he was winless. Obviously, they did win 1-0 against Caen at the weekend.
Where are you looking? Look over there.
Here?
No, look at that one.
Oh, that one.
I want them to see your eyes.
All right, okay.
I think it's weird, you're looking over there. We're over there.
Right.
We're not reading anything.
No, absolutely not. So there was a win for his team against Caen at the weekend, but that's not in the video because it was all prepared, written and made before the weekend, so that it would be ready to launch in time for the Champions League fixtures.
Okay, that's enough eyes, but they don't want any more.
No.
Eskimo Joe asks, how do you think your videos over the World Cup this summer influenced the growth of your channel? We like that question, because it was a big deal for us, the World Cup. Not so much to do with the growth of the channel, partly just because we worked so much over the month. We're in our new office now, but we were between offices at the time, so we worked above a pub in a room upstairs. And we were there every day. It got a little bit easier as the tournament went on because there were obviously fewer days with games on bigger gaps, but it was a big deal for us, and it took a lot of energy. Alex, what do you think about how did it help? What was the wording of the question? How do you think the World Cup this summer influenced the growth of your channel?
I think the regularity of videos that we put out, and also the fact that those videos were related to stuff that was actually happening, did give a kind of impetus to the channel, and certainly it became one of the, along with the podcast that we did during that time, it became one of the resources that people could use to understand what happened. So I think it was useful in that regard. I mean, obviously it was a bit weird because we were doing, particularly during the tournament itself, the focus changed very much to kind of game-by-game tactical stuff, which is in some ways not a fair reflection of the breadth of material that we actually have on the channel usually.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think it was good. I mean, if you have a lot of interest in a particular event and you're making videos about that event, then it's natural that you get views off the back of that. But I think it was important for us to come back to the kind of more rounded approach that we generally take away from tournaments and make sure that we're doing the finance videos, we're doing the ownership videos, that kind of stuff as well, just to go back to what we were doing before.
I think it really honed us as a team as well. I mean, it's not just Alex and I. There's a few other regulars, namely Philippe Fenner, who creates a lot of the videos for us alongside myself, and another colleague, Craig Silcock, who started during that period of time as well. So the four of us working together, and obviously the turnaround, as Alex mentioned, was a lot quicker than the week that it normally is. It did help us iron out problems in the process, which is very useful. But isn't that a boring answer? The next question. I'm so sorry I forgot to find the name of this person, but someone asked us if we'd make a video about Red Star Belgrade, and I thought it was a good opportunity to say that we've already done it, but we did it with Liverpool Football Club, the actual football club. They're playing red.
Oh, yeah.
A little bird on the crest, and it's on their YouTube channel. It's a sort of historical thing, but that was fun. Go and watch it there. There's loads of links on the channel, etc. But we might do some more in the future. Khaled Moosli asks, how do you get the ideas for your videos? Is it fan suggestions, or do you brainstorm them by yourselves?
It's both.
Yes.
Really, isn't it? Speaking more about the tactical stuff, because that's what I do. One of the things that I really like is the fact that our community is engaged and understands football and asks really interesting questions.
Keep going.
And has suggested a load of stuff that's worth looking at in the past. And possibly the only issue that I have is that there are so many good suggestions that we can't make all of them. Having said that, we also, we watch a lot of football. We think a lot about how we can put little series together and ways of approaching things that are interesting, stuff that's in the news maybe. So it's kind of a combination of the two, really. But fan suggestions are great, and we really enjoy them.
Sorry, I lost myself there. How did you learn to analyse football games? Hey, that's for you as well. That's from James, Jose, or Jose, depending on whether you're from a Portuguese-speaking country or a Spanish-speaking country.
Yes.
Learned that from doing voiceovers.
How did I learn to analyse games? I didn't learn in any kind of formal capacity. I just watched a lot of football. I also read as much as I could. So this is going back to sort of 2013, 2014 when I first really started to get interested. So I was reading Jonathan Wilson, his book Inverting the Pyramid, but also his work in The Guardian. Michael Cox, his original blog, zonalmarking.net, was very, very helpful. A lot of other weird little blogs that were out in the ether at that point in time that were doing really interesting stuff on tactics, and then sort of taking that background knowledge and just watching football repeatedly and listening to some of the pundits. I think are good. You know, Gary Neville's very good. Jamie Carragher can be quite good as well. So it's sort of listening to their opinions, challenging that with what I've seen. I think it's important to note that all of the tactics videos that we do are based on us actually watching match footage. We're not inferring stuff from other sources. So, you know, I may see something in a game and it doesn't necessarily agree with what anybody else is saying, but it's something I've seen because I've watched hours and hours of footage, and that kind of hones, I suppose, the way you understand what's going on with the sort of background reading and everything that I've done.
Is it worth pointing out as well, some people ask us about how we watch the games, that sort of thing. Is it worth pointing out how we do it?
I mean... So during the World Cup, I would literally sit there with a notebook.
I mean, like with Y-Scout.
Oh, right, yes. So Y-Scout is a video scouting tool which is available on subscription. And effectively what it means is that I can zoom into any club and watch...
That's very confusing when you say zoom in. That's a video term.
Oh, okay.
People are going to think you mean zoom in video-wise.
No.
What you mean is hone in.
Focus in on.
Focus
sure.
Again is another video term.
Right.
So you have to expand
I can pick a particular team.
Right.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can pick a particular team.
Then what do you do?
And then I can look at how they attack, how they defend. I can isolate particular players within that and study what they do. And it allows me to
fade in on knowledge,
be on top of how teams are playing without having to be religiously glued to my television the entire time.
Yeah. Okay, next question is from ATS. Who, in your opinion, is the best manager in the world, the most underrated manager in the world, and the most overrated manager in the world?
Well, you had a clever answer for this, didn't you?
My clever answer, which I'm still extremely proud of, is best manager in the world is Pep Guardiola. The most underrated manager in the world is Pep Guardiola. The most overrated manager in the world
is Pep Guardiola.
It's Pep Guardiola. Because you see, they're all true. Do you see that at the same time they're all true because of different people's opinions? Do you have an interesting answer, more interesting than that? No.
No, I don't.
No, okay, fine. Thank you, ATS, for that question. Next question comes from Vineeth Daniel. I was wondering whether you could do a video explaining Bayern Munich's struggles this season. We included this one because, Alex, you got some stuff to say.
Yeah, so obviously we work in partnership with the Bundesliga, and there will be videos on Bayern Munich in the course of our working relationship with them.
Sometimes they're specific to certain players, though.
Yeah, I think what's really worth noting about Bayern Munich is that actually in terms of their underlying numbers this season, not to get all statsy about it, they are performing really, really well. They're simply not scoring as many goals as the chances that they're creating would be expected to produce. So I think what will happen with Bayern is that they'll kind of bounce back to roughly the level they should be. I think maybe they're a bit reliant on Lewandowski, and there isn't necessarily much of an option as a plan B there. Sandro Wagner's not been getting much time. I think it's also worth noting that in the Bundesliga, quite often a really strong late surge from a team can see them win the trophy. So I think the question more is, has this slightly odd start where they've been performing well but not getting results set them back enough that they won't be able to catch Borussia Dortmund? And my personal answer is yes, because I think Dortmund will win the title, but it wouldn't be at all surprising if Bayern bounced back and ran them very, very close, if not actually win.
I'll say no, so that either way we're right.
Great, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Next question comes from Storm. Would you be in favour of timeouts from basketball and football, since the coaches can't really implement a lot of changes simply from screaming from the sidelines? I don't know how to answer that question, other than the reason I included it is because I thought, if you've made it this far into the video, which has, let's be honest, has been extraordinarily dull, one camera angle, maybe two, I've set another one up just in case, but I don't know how much I could be bothered putting it together. 20 minutes in, then I thought you deserve to know a little pre-announcement that earmark for Jan 2019, put it in your diaries, Tifo is expanding into basketball. And we're going to do it on a separate channel, so don't worry, if you hate basketball or every sport other than football, it won't be infecting your YouTube via the route of Tifo Football. It will be infecting via the route of Tifo Basketball. So I sort of, apologies to Storm, the reason I asked your question to myself was so that I could co-opt it and give an answer that doesn't ask your question at all, but was an opportunity for me to self-promote. So that's done now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Elliot Mosby, do you think adding a central defender or two would help bring back an all-round balance to the current Manchester United team, Alex?
I assume by this, Elliot, that you mean signing better ones than they currently have, in which case the answer is yes.
What else might Elliot mean?
I think possibly he might mean switching to a 3 at the back, which I think again would have an advantage for them currently in terms of their defensive setup, but I think there are more straightforward ways that Mourinho could achieve a better balance in midfield to protect the back 2 or back 4. I think United's issues are less about personnel, except at full-back.
Well, I'll tell you what, the next question kind of links into this as well. Hamza Alam, how would you manage the problems at United? And tell you what, this is another thing that, incidentally, this is not that dissimilar to what we'll be doing on the podcast. So we mentioned earlier, as part of our channel membership announcement, we're going to include some parts of podcasts at the beginning or the end, not sure yet, that will just be available for members on the video version. It will be like this, but it'll look better with 2 camera angles and will sound better with better microphones. It will just be better generally.
One can only hope.
I hope so. But we'll do things like this, and we might take 15 minutes to answer this sort of question properly. So in brief now, I don't know what you can say in 30 seconds time. But
sack Mourinho, get in a director of football, sign a much, much better right back, work out what on earth to do with Paul Pogba, and you'll go some way to doing it. There's a lot of talent in the Manchester United squad, but they're not being used properly at the moment.
No. Okay, a trombone. I've skipped one. Gusud asks us, would you guys ever want to go into professional management or tacticians? I can answer no, because I don't have the stones, guys. I don't have the stones. I sit behind a screen. I'm not. I don't want to shout at men to do things. I want them to shout at me mostly, but that doesn't make any sense. You can answer the question now.
I'd really like
professional management.
Yeah, not professional management,
tacticians,
but like a director of football role. I think would be really fun. I think what's interesting for me is the idea.
Imagine having to be partisan though.
How do you implement a philosophy at a club? How do you balance squad management?
Just make a Tifo
What's the
video.
overall?
Would you do that? Here's a better question. Not that it's better than Kasud's question. Thank you, Kasud.
It's a great question.
But this is a good question too. If you were a football director or manager, would you utilise Tifo football videos to teach?
Yes.
Yes, you would.
100%.
I hope you're listening, professional football clubs with money to burn.
Yeah.
Ralk 20. Oh no, a trombone. I'm sorry.
You keep missing out a trombone.
I know. I can't work out whether glasses on or off is better. Definitely on.
As long as you can see.
A trombone.
Yeah.
If you could invest in any team like Mansour did with City and make them footballing giants, who would you choose? Really like this question because it gave us pause for thought.
It did.
We had to think about it. I'll go first because my answer is slightly more boring than yours.
Okay.
But it's considered, right? I'm going for England. I'm going for the UK. I think why? Because there's already a massive established market there. Maybe it's not so established as the potential future of Alex's question, but it is currently. And I'm thinking, okay, big clubs, previously established, big stadium, big support, there or thereabouts in the Premier League or below. Newcastle United. That's my answer. And I imagine that, much like there were various other clubs that were considered by Sheikh Mansour and also Roman Abramovich when they first decided to buy a football club here. I imagine at some point down the line Newcastle was one of those clubs because the infrastructure is all there for it. I mean, obviously Mike Ashley's in charge at the moment, and but were he not to be, I think that would be the perfect choice. Your answer's interesting as well.
So we thought a bit about like would it work in a capital city? Would it work? It would probably have to be in Europe for various reasons. So what I've gone for is one of the 3 big Turkish clubs. They have Champions League access. Turkey's a country at an interesting point in its relationship with the European Union. And Soccernomics, which is a great book, highlighted Turkey as one of the countries with a series of factors that meant it was likely to become influential on the international stage in the next sort of 10 to 15 years.
You got that book here?
It'll be around here somewhere, yeah.
Let's see if we can find it. Is it down here?
I don't know if it's down there. I mean, there are books all over the place. That's Soccermatics.
It's Soccermatics.
Soccermatics is also brilliant, by the way.
Yeah.
If you guys ever want reading recommendations for specific subjects, just drop me a message in the comments, because there's very little on football that I haven't read.
I have to get really low. My back is hurting, so I have to get really low to fit in the screen. Let's do another question.
Yeah. So Turkey, anyway, one of the 3 big Turkish clubs.
That's a good answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Will you just check that's still recording?
This one?
Yeah. Hey guys, we've just realised that one of our cameras wasn't recording because we aren't professionals. So a lot of the time I'd be looking over there when I should be looking here, should be looking there. I don't want to make eye contact with you. Realk24, make a Brexit video. Now I don't know where to look. Make a Brexit video. I've included that because it's in the process.
Yeah.
It's part of a series that we are commissioning from a friend journalist of ours. However, as you'll know if you live in the UK, or maybe not, or elsewhere, who knows, things change every day. And the official leaving point, transition beginning point is March 29th. I don't know when it's safe to do it. As Alex said before, it takes a week really to do these things. And at the moment, if we were to make it at the moment, it's likely that UK politics is so turbulent that it would be completely meaningless by the time we release it. So that's why we haven't done it so far. We've earmarked something for March, possibly after March. But as I said, the obvious thing would be how it would affect football teams in England. Yeah. And we have no idea. Reason being, no one has any idea what's going to happen to anything. Yeah. So there's no point in us doing it now. But it is on the list. And the final question comes from Roddy Toolings. Incidentally, if I said anyone's name wrong, I do apologise. Would you consider doing an analysis on Guardiola's former apprentice and current Ajax head coach, Erik ten Hag? Perhaps even compare it to Cruyff's Total Football?
So we'll definitely be doing an Ajax video if Ajax get through the Champions League group stages without any issues, which looks very likely. Mm-hmm. It's also worth noting that we will be doing a few mini-series on influential coaches, people who they've been influenced by, and then also other managers who've kind of been influenced by them and the clubs that they're now working at. So Guardiola obviously would be on that list because he is the best, most underrated and most overrated manager in the world. There are plenty of other people that we've considering, including probably a few names that you wouldn't necessarily know about. So I think that could be an interesting series of videos, and those names, as mentioned by Roddy, will definitely be in there. Okay, that's all the questions that we have for now. Thank you so much to everyone who wrote in with questions. Very kind of you. We were a little bit overwhelmed with the number of questions. There were a lot. It physically took us a long time to read them all. But yes, just to recap, we will be doing this sort of thing possibly every week, possibly every other week as part of the podcast. So the video version of it will go out for channel members only. But if you want to watch it, I don't know why you would. I really don't know why you would. It'll definitely be better than this. Yeah. But if you do want to watch it, that's the place to go. And yes, just a very quick recap on before. If you do not want to become or cannot afford to become a member, do not worry. You are not going to lose anything that you currently have. No. You wouldn't even notice if we hadn't told you that it's changing. Yeah. Because it isn't really changing. I just want to make that really clear. But anyway, thank you very much. My back hurts now because I've been sat like this in a chair. We need to invest in a tripod so that we're not balancing cameras on books. Do some Pilates or something. It'll strengthen your core. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't expecting that. No. Right. See you later. Bye.